All right, so we're gonna do a background. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do yet. I'm gonna go to my start menu. I'm gonna go down to my Corel Painter Essentials 6 that came with my Wacom tablet. And wait for that to pop up. Alright, I usually just close that out and I usually go to new, and then boom cards are 7 by 5, 7-inch width and 5-inch height. So usually if I'm going to make a background specifically for boom cards, I will do a 7-inch width and a 5-inch height. And I think the resolution originally was 150, but I saw some people on Teacher Pay Teacher who were saying they were doing 300 dots per inch. So I assumed that 300 pixels per inch was the same, so I changed it. I'm not sure that I've noticed much difference, but I'm just gonna go with that. So then we have a blank canvas here. And I really don't like the default tool that we are given is like a wet oily blender, and I'm not really, here, let me change the color. I'm not really feeling that usually. So usually what I'll do, and this is just kind of taking some experimentation and some playing around just to figure out what I like, but I like to do my base with chalk. I don't know, I just kind of like the chalk, and I usually go with blunt chalk, and I am no artist by any means whatsoever, so just kind of play around with it. There's crowns, there's all sorts of different things in here to play around with, and it's a lot of fun. So sometimes when I'm bored or I can't figure out what else to do, or I want to work on something, but I'm not really feeling inspired, sometimes I'll just come in here and play around and make some backgrounds. And then that way I have some things to use with my boom cards when I do think of, something to make, or I get unstuck in my head of whatever I'm working on. So I've got it on chalk now. I can go up and I can change the size. I've noticed that it's really sensitive. Like right now it's on 83, and if I just click over here, all of a sudden it's on 261. So just kind of, it's a little bit sensitive. So you can go down to very, very small chalk and you can't even see that. I'm going to undo that, and then you can go to big chalk, but usually if I'm just trying to do a base, I'll make it bigger. So I'm just going to make it big and chalk it up. So I'll do that. Sometimes what I'll do is I might make some stripes, and you can either select colors from the little blocks over here, or you can select colors over here on the left with the little dropper tool. If I want to choose a purple, or if I want to choose an orange, or you can choose from this wheel over here. So I really kind of like choosing from the wheel. So sometimes I might make some stripes. Let me go back and make my base again. So let's see. I don't know. I kind of go with certain colors, and sometimes my stripes are wobbly and it doesn't really matter. So I might do some stripes. I might put some aqua colors in there just so that you have, something to work with. So I might do something like that, and it looks really weird and not really pretty yet, but then we'll use the tools and play around with it. So we might go to the blenders. Sometimes if I'm liking the colors, but I'm not really liking the way that it looks, or it looks too harsh, I'll go to the directional diffuser. And so I've got it on the directional diffuser. You can change the size. Every time you change a tool, you're going to want to set it on the size that you want. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And then you can go with the grain. And like I'll kind of smooth it out, blend them in together like that. And it makes a nice, like, I don't know, dreamy background. If you accidentally do something that you don't really want to, you can hit undo or redo. If you want to mix them a little bit more thoroughly, you can go in a different direction. You can do like this. But I kind of liked it when it was, you know, you can still see the individual colors. So I'm just going to blend this a little bit more. And that looks nice. And if you run across something that you like, a lot of times what I'll do is if I find something that I'm like, oh yeah, I like that, I'll go ahead and save it. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I have two folders. I have one folder that is full of the .rif files, which is the Corel Painter file type. So if I ever wanted to go back in there and edit my original, I could open it back up and edit that copy, whatever I have. So I'm going to go to that folder. I'm going to save my .rif files in here. I'll just go to my last one and then change the number on it. And then I also like to save it as a PNG, because if I use it as a background for Google Slides or for boom cards or whatever I'm using them for, then I'm going to want them as a PNG. So I'm also going to save as, and I'm going to go to my other folder that's full of PNG files. And that's the one that says copy. And I'm going to do the exact same name. I'm just going to change it to a PNG instead of a .rif. So that way I have two different versions of that. And then I'll keep messing with it. Like I got something that I like here that's kind of going on. And so I might start changing my tools, and I might, let's say I might go to FX. There's a lot of cool effects in FX. There's this fairy dust. I really like the fairy dust. I'm all about the sparkles, and I feel like anything can be improved with sparkles. Yes. So I will put it on like the white, and then I'll make like some sparkles. So let me change the size. And then I'll just kind of like a little dot here, little dot here. If you hold it down, you can make like a woo, like all sorts of little fairy sparkles everywhere. You can make a trail of fairy sparkles. If you want like a couple, you can change the size of the fairy sparkles. If you want that, like just a couple that are bigger, you can go to Particles and choose Flow Flare. And that one will make like if I just do a really quick dot, sometimes it's small. If I hold it down, it'll make a bigger dot. A bigger sparkle. So if you want some different sizes in there, sometimes I'll just throw some random one of those in there. And once in a while I'll hold it down a little bit bigger, make a big one. Just make it pretty, however you want. So I kind of like that. I'm kind of digging that. So I'm going to save that one as well. I'm just going to change the number. And then I have a bunch of different types of backgrounds. And I just keep them all in my folders there. And whenever I go to make a boom cards, I just go and I look through all my backgrounds, and I'm like, okay, which one am I feeling? So save as, go to my other folder, save it as a .rif file. I already changed the name. Okay, another thing that I really like to use here in the particles is Flow Fur. I don't know, it sounds really funny, but I really like it. So I'm going to change it to a color, and then Flow Fur, I can't even say it. It's just like this really wispy kind of like fur. It's got like fur. And you can change the size and make it bigger. And let's just leave like a trail of fur. And it's just fun. Let's do a little bit of purple fur in here. So kind of go off of that. And you can see my other background underneath, and that's okay. You can cover it all up. You can let some shine through. Whatever you want to do. I just kind of just play around with it. Let's make a little fur stripes. I'm kind of seeing some stripes start to emerge here. Meow. Meow. I don't know. I just kind of like that texture. Meow. And got some dark blue in there too. Doo-doo-doo. And let's do some pink. I don't know. You can tell I like the pink and the blue and the purple and the aqua. Alright, so get some of that. Might need some more sparkles now. So I might go back over here to fairy dust. I might change it back to the white. And then I'm going to kind of trace back over the sparkles that I had so they pop out again. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Just making a background. Alright, and let's give it some more go for dink. Dink, dink, dink. Yep. You gotta have some sound effects when you're working on a background. Okay, so let's save it. Let's change it to 198, save it as a riff, and go save it as a PNG. And like if you save it every time you like it, like every time you run across something you like, then it doesn't take too long before you have like a bunch of backgrounds. Same name, change it to a PNG, now it's in my other folder. Okay, another effect that I really like, the spring rainbow silk is fun. So if you do that, it looks like you can kind of hold it down in a certain area and make that a little bit bigger. And it just kind of makes this almost like netting type stuff. But I think that's really pretty. So I like the spring rainbow silk. I like the spring silk flower too. So you can like hold it down in one place and it kind of makes a flower. You can kind of drag it around and do it that way. Oh, and I had the spring rainbow silk on white. That's why I did that. Let me change it to a color. The spring rainbow silk, there it goes. Okay, so there's the rainbow part. I forgot I had it on white. So that's really pretty. And then, oops, let's go back over here. And what else do I like? I'm going to go into FX, and another effect that I really like is this hurricane. So I like the hurricane. If you have a bunch of colors that you really like on there and you're just not feeling the design, sometimes you can just kind of swirl it up and it makes something new, and it's all like swirly. It just makes it into a hurricane. Another one you can choose is the shattered. I like the shattered. Let me make that a little bit bigger. And it swirls it up too, like it mixes it up too. It just makes it a little bit more geometric. So instead of like hurricane type swirls, it's just like shattered glass or something. So I really like that. This makes it look very artsy, and I have absolutely no art skills whatsoever. So it's kind of nice that there's all these tools that you can make it look like you have art skills. Another one, let's see, what else do I like in here? The fog jitters sometimes. It's kind of nice. It's like little dots. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Like little dots like that. And then gel fractal jitter. Let's make that bigger. I always forget that you got to change the size. So there's the gel fractal jitter. Hard to say. It's turning out very watercolory. And there are watercolor tools. You can go to digital watercolor. Now the thing that I've noticed about the digital watercolor tools is if you do some of the tools on here, some of them, if you've used other effects, some of these tools don't affect those effects, if that makes sense. But let's see if I can throw some salt on it. Sometimes the salt will work. Now, see, it's not even changing it. Okay, so let's do some watercolor. So I'm gonna do a dry brush, and let's do some. I'm gonna watercolor all over this. So if you use the watercolor, if you paint with watercolor on here and then go to salt, the salt will affect the watercolor, but it doesn't really affect the other stuff. So if I put salt on it, on a watercolor, like what was underneath it kind of shows through. So that's kind of nice. So you might do something like that. And then you might add some sparkles or whatever you like. You can splatter water. So if you were going to do something like an underwater scene, I think the splatter water would be really good for underwater scenes, except I think I have it too dark. I do have it too dark. Okay, let's just start with a new one. Okay, got a new one, and I'm going to go to watercolor. Let's just do watercolor tools because that way you'll be able to see what they do. So I'm going to do a light background. So light background. And then we'll change it to the water spatter. And see if that makes any difference. Let me change it to color. Okay, there we go. So I had to change it to a darker color so it'll show up. But it looks like little bubbles. And you can change the opacity. You can make it darker and less opaque, or more opaque. You can make it lighter and less opaque. So I think that's really nice. And then you can throw some salt on it. And then the white shows through underneath. Okay, so I just think that's really neat. But if I did a watercolor and then tried to mix that with another effect, like if I came over here to the blenders, there's been times when I've like, well, I just want to blend that up. But then the blenders don't affect the watercolor stuff. So just kind of be aware. The watercolor seems to be its own little area, and they don't play nicely with the other effects sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to take some chalk. And I'm going to just kind of color all over this. Ooh, I kind of like the chalk on the watercolor. That's nice. That's pretty neat. What other particles can I show you or something? Okay, there's sponges. So sometimes I'll use the sponges, and you could do like a glazing sponge, like if you just wanted to add a little black on top of that, give it a little bit more texture or something. And I think that is most of what I have played around with. There's all sorts of different things for you to play with, but I'll look down at the bottom here where it's got like an example of it, and if it looks like something neat, like I might want to try out. What's that do? That's just, then I'll just try it. And if you do something that you're like, oh, that totally messed up my design, you just undo it. Okay, so that's kind of how I do backgrounds, and I have completely just played around with it and just tried different things, and I just keep saving it every time I like it. And so what I've ended up with is, and the thumbnails are messed up on my PNGs, like you can't see the thumbnails, but let me go to my file with the .rif files because you can see that. And you can hear somebody's car alarm going off. Or maybe you couldn't. I don't know. I could. So classroom, backgrounds. And I have like a folder where I keep my backgrounds. I have a folder where I keep my fonts, images. I have a folder where I keep my files that I've created for boom decks that are for sale. So everything's nice and organized. In the backgrounds, I have files for other people's backgrounds, and I don't think I have any that I have commercial licenses for that are backgrounds, so I basically just use my own backgrounds and I don't use other people's. But sometimes on Teacher Pay Teacher you can find like free backgrounds that you can get a commercial license. I actually have one on my store. So if you go to my store now, I have a bunch of blue backgrounds that I put up as a freebie that I said in my terms of use that you could use it commercially. So you could use those and sell the boom cards that you make with them, or whatever, sell the Google Slides, whatever you make with them. So I'm going to go into here. And then these are just like some backgrounds that I've made. And you can tell, well, the kids have made some. Like, the kids have made some of these too. So they help me make backgrounds sometimes. So this might be something that kids can help with. I don't know. I feel like as I went on, I started going towards like kind of a rainbow theme. So I'm kind of liking the rainbow stuff right now. But anyway, so you just like make lots of things and save them. And hopefully you run across some that you like.